Charles Fraser. The Secret of Jack-o'-lantern. The Sherlock Holmes Halloween Special. Episode 4. Based on the characters by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. A Go Audio production. Today, 1st of November 1933. It was well past midnight when we finally arrived home at Baker Street. The descent from the hill was more than arduous, and Holmes and Alice had to take turns supporting me to get safely back down. So violently were my knees shaking and my legs giving way. Not even Alice's driving could unsettle me after that. Now I lay in my bed. Alice had already said her goodbyes, and Holmes had administered a large glass of whisky. He now sat on the chair in my room and had been silently observing me for quite some time. I could not bear it any longer and scolded. "For heaven's sake, Holmes, talk to me." "The devil is the key word, dear Watson," Holmes replied contritely. Then he fell silent again, and I stared at the ceiling. After what felt like an eternity, he finally spoke again. "What happened to you up there? Never would I have thought you capable of such a thing." "Believe me, neither would I," I replied dryly. "The poor woman. I saw the mortal fear in her eyes. Holmes, how is such a thing even possible?" "Well, I am not the expert in occultism, but I would say that in that moment you were not yourself and were possessed by something. And I dare say that the devil himself had a hand in this." An ice-cold shudder ran through me and I began to shiver. "I fear you are right," I said meekly. "But the question is, what can we do about it? We have dealt with quite a few characters in the past who behaved like the devil's right hand, but I have never had the pleasure of meeting the head of hell personally," Holmes summarized. "However, we could draw one insight from today. After your blackout today, I am almost certain that it is not the devil himself, but a person of flesh and blood who commits or has committed the murders. This means we have a human perpetrator, which may make things a bit easier. And now, try to get some sleep, dear friend. Exhaustion is written all over your face." I closed my eyes for a brief moment, only to open them again. "Holmes, I am afraid to fall asleep." It took some effort to admit this, but what else could I do? "That is completely understandable," Holmes agreed. "But you need not be afraid. I shall remain seated here with you for the first half of the night, and Eddie will relieve me for the second half. We shall not take our eyes off you for a single moment and will wake you immediately should we notice any sign that you might be having a bad dream." "Thank you, Holmes," I whispered, and closed my eyes. I was somewhat calmer about the prospect of not having to be alone and grateful for it, as exhaustion threatened to overwhelm me, and within seconds I had fallen asleep. Back then, 29 years later. "Are you Mr. Oldfield's son?" asked the nurse. Jack nodded. "I am very sorry to have to tell you this, but your father will not survive the night. You can say goodbye to your father now. I am not sure if he can still hear you, but he will sense your presence, and I think none of us should die alone." Jack wasn't sure whether his father deserved it or not. When he received the news this afternoon that his father had suffered a serious accident, he first finished drinking the bottle of schnapps, then hurried to the hospital. His father had been on horseback on his way to visit an acquaintance when the animal suddenly spooked. His father fell off, and the horse ultimately dragged him for miles. His injuries were so severe that it was immediately clear that old Oldfield would meet his maker today. What should I say? Jack took another deep swig from his hip flask. "You are my father. I learned from you. I love you, and at the same time I hate and despise you. I won't particularly miss you." Jack thought about himself and his father as he sat beside his bed, looking down at him and observing how his breathing rattled heavily with each breath. His father's head was one massive blood clot, his limbs were broken, and his internal organs were certainly severely injured. Yes, he would die. That much was certain. Yet the grief wouldn't come. Rather, it was a frightening indifference. A thought occurred to him. Finally, he could completely take over his father's business and be the only blacksmith in town. He would earn good money, but would also have to work hard for it. Jack wasn't entirely sure if he wanted this. Until now, he had only worked as a smith for his father when he had no money left and couldn't currently swindle any either. The nurse came back into the room. "Can I do anything for you? A glass of water, perhaps?" she asked him sympathetically. But Jack waved her off with a laugh. Water? He sensed that his reaction was inappropriate, but the nurse overlooked it and placed her hand compassionately on his shoulder. "Everyone deals with a loss like the one you're experiencing differently. That's perfectly all right," she said kindly. "What's your name?" Jack asked her bluntly. The nurse blushed slightly but replied, "My name is Nancy, and you are?" "Jack." "Then I'll leave you alone again now, and if you need anything else, please don't hesitate to let me know." The woman was nice, thought Jack. Since Myra had left him at the altar, he hadn't let any woman get emotionally close to him. Sure, he had been with numerous prostitutes, but there wasn't much talking involved, which always suited him just fine. But this Nancy was simply friendly. "Jack," he suddenly heard. His father groaned as he had opened his eyes for a brief moment. "My son, murderer of my beloved wife and your mother. Had I been able to choose between your life and that of your mother, you would not exist today," old Oldfield croaked. Jack didn't let it show, but these words felt like 1,000 needle pricks straight through his heart. How he had missed his mother when he was still a little boy. What he would have given just to see her once and feel her closeness and love. But it wasn't meant to be. Certainly, many children grew up without a mother, or without both mother and father. They all grew up, but he couldn't deny that the painful absence of his mother always haunted and preoccupied him. "Go to hell, old man!" Jack burst out. Mr. Oldfield's eyes suddenly bulged. A stifled cough escaped his throat. "May the devil take you, my son!" the old man choked out. The old Mr. Oldfield closed his eyes. His battered body convulsed, and with one final desperate gasp for air, he breathed his last. "So, this is how we shall meet again," said Jack, and it sounded like a promise. Today, the 1st of November, 1933. The night passed surprisingly quietly, and I awoke fresh and, given the circumstances, well rested. I saw Eddie sitting beside me in the armchair. His head was bowed, and I could hear him snoring loudly. A smile came over me. Then my bedroom door opened a crack, and Holmes peered in. When he spotted Eddie, he merely shook his head disapprovingly. I slipped out of bed and into my trousers, left Eddie sleeping, and hurried to Holmes. "I'm pleased to find you safe and sound," said Holmes. "No bad dreams? No apparitions?" my friend inquired with concern. "Thank God, no," I replied. "Very good," I said to Holmes. "I shall make my way straight to your, shall we say, acquaintance from last evening and inquire after her well-being. Would you care to join me?" I pondered briefly. "Do you think that's wise? What if I should try to kill her again?" Holmes swung his walking stick ominously. "Then I shall give you a good thrashing with it. Besides, I'd like to keep an eye on you, and am rather reluctant to leave you here alone." I nodded. "Would you care for a little something to eat?" Holmes asked me. I declined. "Very well, I can happily forgo breakfast as well. In that case, I suggest you quickly freshen up, then we can set off straight away." A thought suddenly struck me, as Nancy Culligan's residence was only a few streets away from Baker Street, and Holmes and I had decided to walk. What if Nancy Culligan had fallen victim to another of the devil's henchmen during the night, and they had managed to carry out the plan? The closer we got to our destination, the more nervous I became. With a trembling hand, I knocked on the door of the small flat on the second floor. After the third knock, the the door hesitantly opened to a small crack, and we heard a timid woman's voice. "Yes, please?" My heart stopped for a moment. Thank goodness she was alive. "Mrs. Culligan, how lovely to see you," I said effusively. She studied us for a brief moment and then said, "You're that madman from last night, aren't you? Go away." She was about to slam the door in our faces, but Holmes was quicker and wedged his walking stick into the tiny gap. "Mrs. Culligan, please, just a brief moment. Listen to me. Do you live alone, or is there someone who could stay with you today and tonight?" "Why is that necessary? I don't understand," asked the woman, irritated. "Please do us the favour and do not stay alone today. If you wish, we would be happy to accompany you somewhere," I said, trying to appear as friendly as possible. But Mrs. Culligan merely said, "You surely understand that I will not go anywhere with you. Besides, my fiancé will be here any moment." "Nancy, darling, is there any trouble?" came a concerned male voice from the stairwell. "No, not in the slightest," Holmes interjected before Nancy could reply. "Please take good care of your future wife today. With that, we shall take our leave." Relieved, and with a clear conscience that Nancy Culligan was still amongst the living and would be in good hands and looked after for the remainder of the day, we made our retreat to Baker Street. From afar, we could already see Inspector Wolford's motor car parked, and he appeared to be engaged in an animated conversation with Alice. She spotted us first and waved to us. The inspector then turned his head in our direction and, upon recognising us, immediately rushed towards us. "Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, how fortunate that you are finally here. We have another body," he said, completely out of breath. Holmes and I looked at each other for a brief moment. Then Holmes said, "The woman's first name is Nancy?" One look at Inspector Wolford's face was enough, and we knew we were right. "How do you know that?" asked Wolford, completely surprised. "We have our very special sources," Holmes answered conspiratorially. "Mr. Holmes, if you are withholding facts and information that are significant to the investigation, then I hardly need to explain to you." But Holmes interrupted Inspector Wolford. "I can assure you that this information is of no concern to you, as you would be able to make just as little use of it as we can." With that, Holmes considered the matter closed. "Can we finally drive to the crime scene?" I was extremely surprised when Inspector Wolford drove us directly to St. Bartholomew's Hospital. "Did the woman survive the attack?" I asked, astonished. But Inspector Wolford shook his head. "The woman's name is Nancy Rogers and she's a nurse. She was on duty last night and was found dead in the nurses' station early this morning during the shift change." "Oh God, how dreadful!" I exclaimed. And the thought occurred to me that if our Nancy Culligan had indeed died yesterday, then this woman here would likely still be alive. Had I decided between life and death? Once again, I felt absolutely terrible and deeply regretted this woman's death. Nancy Rogers lay stretched out in the middle of the small nurses' station. The small round table and the 2 chairs had been pushed aside to create enough space for the familiar staging. 2 pumpkins surrounded the nurse's corpse, one to her right, the other to her left. The familiar knife with its ornately decorated handle protruded from her chest. "Let me guess, Inspector," said Holmes. Once again, nobody noticed or saw anything. No peculiarities and no strangers. Nancy Rogers was a very compassionate woman, friendly with everyone, and an excellent caring nurse who conscientiously carried out her duties. "It's not written word for word exactly like that in my notebook, but in summary, that's spot on," confirmed Inspector Wolford. "Now out with it. I want to hear how you know all this." "But Inspector," said Holmes, "these character traits were also present in the other victims. One could say that each of them individually was a good person and a valuable member of the community. Furthermore, we have not been able to find any traces at any of the other crime scenes, nor identify any suspicious persons. But Inspector Walford was not satisfied with this explanation. "Don't take me for a fool, Holmes. I want to know how you knew the name of the deceased." "Very well," said Holmes. "Dr. Watson received a note from the devil himself in a dream with the name written on it." "Of course," Inspector Walford spat, almost at our feet, turned around, and left the crime scene, shaking his head. Holmes could not help but smirk about it, but I was in no mood for laughter. Nancy Rogers, a young woman in her mid-30s, number 4 on the list of death. We knew the name. We knew it would happen today, and yet we could not prevent it. I am sorry, Nancy Rogers. Terribly sorry. Back then, 33 years later. "Hey, Stingy Jack, where are you lying about again, you drunkard?" echoed through the small smithy. The agitated man searched every single corner for Jack. Finally, he found him behind the house, snoring on a bale of straw. He kicked him firmly in the side with his boot. Jack startled awake and shouted, "Hey man, are you mad? Waking up a hard-working man like that?" "Hard-working? Don't make me laugh. I brought you my steed this morning. He's got one new horseshoe on. But Jack, imagine that. My steed has 4 hooves. Either you sort this out right now this instant, or I'll personally nail those things under your boots." All right, Jack grumbled, and rose cumbersomely from his resting place. His head was throbbing and his side was hurting. One couldn't even enjoy a well-deserved afternoon nap. Under the watchful eyes of the agitated man, Jack kindled the fire for the horse's iron. He heated it until it glowed, then placed it with tongs onto the anvil and began to work on it. Testing it, he lifted it up again with the tongs. That looked quite good already. "Hey, Smitherson, lift the horse's hoof so I can fit it better," Jack called out to the man. "Don't you have your apprentice for that? Where is he? You haven't paid him again. Have I got that right? He's run off again." "No, the lad is ill again," Jack lied, and not very convincingly. Reluctantly, Smitherson lifted his horse's hoof, and Jack approached with the glowing iron. He pressed it onto the horn, but his tongs slipped and the glowing iron fell directly onto Smitherson's hand. He let out a pain-filled scream and jumped back hastily. The horse was startled, shied away, and kicked out with its hind legs. It struck Jack directly in the stomach. He was catapulted backwards, and it knocked the wind out of him. "You worthless drunkard! You got what you deserved. I'll get my nag shod in the neighbouring village. You won't see another penny from me," Smitherson scolded. Jack remained lying in the dirt, cursing his father's inherited forge and his life. He decided to retreat back to his straw bed with his half-empty bottle of spirits to nurse his wounds. Today, the 1st of November 1933 evening had fallen, and after my experience yesterday, I dared to go to bed alone again today. It did not take me long to fall asleep. "Johnny, open your eyes. It's me. You're Mary," whispered a seductive voice. "Mary?" I asked incredulously. "Yes, Johnny, it truly is me. Oh, how I've missed you. Do you remember back then? How happy we were? When you had your medical practice and I worked in the library? How I keep thinking about that time over and over. But now we can be together forever, my darling." "But Mary, you are dead," I said stupidly. "Johnny, don't worry about such trivial matters. You know exactly what you need to do. Or have you stopped loving me? Am I not worth it to you?" Was that really my Mary? My heart beat faster as I recognised her voice, a renewed, shared future for eternity. I yearned for nothing more. "Johnny, tomorrow you must do what you are told. Do you hear? You mustn't fail again this time. Oh, Johnny, how I need you." "But Mary," I replied, "I cannot kill anyone for that." "Oh, yes, you can." The voice suddenly turned brutal, intimidating and threatening. Suddenly the figure was there again, sitting on my bed. The glowing eyes fixed upon me, and I was unable to look away. "Your Mary is suffering terribly with me," the voice screamed at me. "Save her, Johnny! Free her, Johnny! Be a man and not this old, pitiful coward. Fear shot through me once again, and my hands began to tremble. When the figure saw this, it let out an evil laugh. Your Mary is burning alive with me. She's screaming. She's in pain, Johnny. Terrible pain. Then, in the background, I heard the voice of my dearly beloved wife once again. Johnny, please do this for me. But suddenly I realised that this could not possibly be my Mary. Never, not even once, had she called me Johnny. The only one who called me that with such a condescending tone was the devil, when he appeared to me 2 nights ago. If you do not fulfil your duties, said the devil, stretching his hands towards me, then I have a small parting gift for you. You will need it, Johnny. You will think of me, my friend, and curse me. He handed me his present, and a dirty laugh washed over me. Watson, for heaven's sake, wake up my friend. Holmes's voice and his tugging hands pulled me from this nightmare. I opened my eyes and suddenly became completely lucid. Mary, she spoke to me, Holmes. She wants me to commit murder, I stammered. My dear Watson, Holmes tried to speak soothingly to me. That most certainly was not your Mary. Think clearly, Watson. What could Mary possibly have to do with the devil? It is unthinkable. You are right, I know. She called me Johnny. She has never done that before, but it was frightening. I began to tremble again, and I could feel the beads of sweat on my forehead. Then I remembered the gift that the devil had handed to me. I looked around searchingly in my bed, but I could not find anything. Have you lost something? Inquired Holmes. No, but the devil handed me a gift that I am looking for right now. He said I would need it. Is that so? What was it then? Holmes pressed on. It was nothing exciting, I said, yet the thought of it made goosebumps cover my entire body. It was a simple vegetable. It was a turnip. Holmes looked at me with wide eyes. A turnip? Yes, that's what I said, I exclaimed irritably. But why does that interest you now? Dr. Watson, our murderer's name is Jack. You were listening to Charles Fraser. The Secret of Jack-o'-lantern. The Sherlock Holmes Halloween Special. Episode 4. Based on the characters by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. A Go Audio production